I was young and I am old. But I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread. That's Psalms 37:25. Greetings you, the DFG, getting its flight here. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a moment and share with you that particular verse of scripture because, for many of us who have children who have gone astray, maybe not gone astray, but definitely have not gone the way of Elohim. And it can be a little, confusing when you look at Psalms 37:25. That's David reminding us that, that Yah goodness, passes down from generation to generation to generation for those of us who are righteous. And you could read that and say, well, Brother DFG, does that mean that my kids are righteous because I'm righteous? Well, let me answer that question with scripture. Was Esau righteous? The brother of Jacob? If you know his story, he was always plotting. He was always selfish. And he was willing to do whatever he needed to do to have whatever he wanted. And, and he was so disobedient that his parents told him to marry within the nation. And he intentionally married outside of the nation. And then he spent most of his time, quite frankly, trying to kill his brother, Jacob. Although he was, the one who made the deal, how you say, the bargain with the devil. Esau decided that, he would sell his birthright and then turn around and want to take it back. We used to call that Indian giving when we were kids. But, he made the bargain and then, had the audacity to get upset, when, what he contrived came to be. And sometimes that's our children too. I'm sure that Rebecca and Isaac weren't the happiest people in the world when they saw, just how wicked he was. But yeah, he was blessed. He was a pretty wealthy man. If you look at blessing in terms of materialism. And that's why when I say that, as David said, sometimes, the seed will be blessed financially. That's what he meant. That's what he meant when he said that, he has never seen their seed begging for bread. So that's one example. So some of our kids out there, they're doing well. And quite frankly, that's one of the reasons why they refuse to hear us. Because they don't realize in their arrogance that their blessings are coming from us. They assume their blessings came because some of us paid for educations. Some of us spend a lot of time teaching and training them up, teaching them, about the important things in life. I'm talking about how to be responsible, how to go out, to work hard, to be focused and to be disciplined. But they still turned out to be rebellious. They still turned out to dishonor us in marginalizing, things that we say. So, although Yah can still bless them, and in many cases they are being blessed, they're not begging for bread. That does not, it does not make Yah's word non and void, I guess is what I'm saying to you. So, I guess if you want to encourage yourself, one of the things you can encourage yourself, if this particular situation, is your situation, you follow me? If it's similar to something that's going on, with you and your children, they're doing their own thing and they seem to be pretty successful and prosperous. Well, you can take a certain level of, accomplishment, in that fact, because I can assure you, if it were not for your righteousness, they would be on their asses. They don't know it. They would never admit it. They don't know it. I don't think they even understand the power of, generational blessings. They have no idea about it. Just like they don't understand, generational curses. But again, you could have kids out there who are doing things going totally against the word of Elohim, but they're not suffering economically, and it throws you off because you're wondering, okay, well, if they could be blessed and not serve Yah, then Why would they listen to me telling them to come back to Yah? It's because Yah's word is true. And so when he said to David, or when David shared with us, and when Elohim said through David, their seed, does not beg bread, that's what he's simply saying. That he didn't say that their seed would be righteous. He said that, the righteous comes from the righteous. And that's what he said. I'll say that to you again, Psalms 37:25. He says, I was, once young and now I am old. And in all that time, I've never seen the righteous forsaken or their seed, meaning children, begging bread. So you can be assured, my sisters, my brothers, that he's not going to forsake you under any circumstances. Because, see, your righteousness exalts this nation. This nation is held together because of the righteousness of the believer. And it's falling apart, granted. You follow me? It's falling apart fast. You can see what's going on all over the world. You don't need me to, excuse me, to remind you of that again. But also, be encouraged that you play a big part in why they're still able to have bread on their tables. They may be the ones going out there collecting it, but trust me, whatever that's in them that came out of you, the blessings of Elohim that came out of you, that's the blessing they're eating from. When David said, my cup runneth over, you follow me? That's they're eating from an overflow from your righteousness. But yet, at the end of the day, Yah's going to judge him. He said, even go back to Esau. He said, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I hated. Although they both had the same parents. He said, I love one of them, I hate the other one. And so Yah is going to judge them for their rebellion. Make no mistake about it. They could turn around because there's another story out there. Remember the story of what we taught of as the prodigal son. Yeshua talked about that. And he talked about this father who had two sons. Again, two sons. Sometimes I wonder if that story is a similitude of the story of Esau, and Jacob, Israel, our forefather. But if you remember the two sons, they were both blessed. They were financially in a good position because of their father. One decided to take, his inheritance and run out into the world and have a good time, and do what he wanted to do. And ultimately, he wasted all of it. And then his situation turned sour, and he ended up, living amongst pigs in a pig's pen. And, and ultimately, he, by the grace of Elohim, through a righteous father, again, the righteous, coming to his right mind, turning around and coming back home. And then Yah restored him, the father figure, restored him back, to where he was. So you have one situation where, where you have the similitude that both of these sons were unrighteous, Esau and the prodigal son. But in one instance, the man turned around and he came back home after he realized that everything he was chasing for out there in that world, was just a mirage. Everything he thought that represented happiness, he realized that, it was just, a form of deception. And at the end of the day, he was going to die out there in a world without any covering of Elohim. And he caught himself in time and he made it back. So, again, that was the seed of a righteous, father, a wealthy father. And my brothers and sisters, I'll say to you, if your righteousness before Elohim is considered royalty. Our righteousness before Elohim is considered royalty. And that's why your children are blessed. I'm talking about the ones who have gone astray. Now, if you remember the story of the prodigal son, just like Jacob, they never abandoned their first love. Now, this was representative, in a parent, but in our case, that's representative of Elohim, our parent. You know what I'm saying? But it was, that you saw in both cases. One of them returned back. Jacob went back home. And Yah blessed him to go back home. He became Israel. Amen? And he became, the father of the tribes, of the 12 tribes. We are one of those tribes. You know what I'm saying? And again, as the book says, Elohim said, I love Jacob. He loves us. But he's not gonna, he will bless our children because his word is true. Heaven and earth will pass away before his word pass away. So when David said, he'd never seen, the righteous forsaken and their seed begging bread, just understand that what he means is that, your child doesn't have to follow Elohim if they're of you and you're righteous to be blessed. Remember Yeshua said he prayed that Elohim did he say he pours his goodness on the just and the unjust? So don't think it's strange that they're out here and they're having what you might call a measure of success. They may have a nice home, transportation, nice income, what's perceived as a nice family. But think about it. If they're not building that family on righteousness, and righteousness is the word, it's only a matter of time before it's going to fall down. Esau's fell down. And surely, the prodigal son, his definitely fell down. It took a while. Didn't happen overnight. But ultimately, they're both going to crash. If there's any, hope for them, that, maybe they'll be as the prodigal son, talking about your children. Those who in their arrogance believe that they don't need Elohim, or they can serve Elohim in a way that they want to serve him. They created a God unto themselves, a God that caters to their needs. When Yah says, I don't change, but again, maybe they will abandon the God of their needs, or maybe Yah will put them in a situation with everything going on where they're not going to have much of a choice. And your righteousness will be the beacon, it will be the light that, that they can find their way back. But they're gonna have to want to do it. Now, Yah, granted, because it's your seed, he may put a little pain on their asses. Ladies too. To force them to see themselves as what they really are. As what they really are. And force them to open their eyes to see that everything that they're out there chasing that they think is happiness, it's not happiness. We know that. Hell, many of us walked in their shoes. You would think in wisdom they would come and say, hey, well, what did you do when you were 25 and you had these problems, or 22 and you had these problems, or 35 when you had these problems? But in arrogance, they're not going to do that, because in their arrogance, they really think they're smarter than you. Somehow, the enemy of this world has deceived them into believing that, living half the life that you have lived gives them double the wisdom that you currently possess. And the most precious thing that you possess as the righteous of Elohim is the knowledge of Elohim. And and understanding that, there's a foundation there that never cracks. That's a foundation in the righteousness of Elohim that we have grip to, that could never be destroyed. Heaven and earth will pass away, but his righteousness wouldn't. And those of us who are his, he said, I have lost none of them. Y'all's not going to lose us. We're not, we're going to stand, he's going to stand, and that's that. That's a promise, sister. That's a promise, brother. But when you're looking at, again, you look at, the seed, and, they're going to run. Some of them, and again, like Esau never turned around. Esau stayed wicked unto death. His children were cursed. His children stayed cursed. Quite frankly, they're some of the most wicked heathens on this planet right now. Cause of a lot of the death and mayhem and destruction, on this planet. When Elohim says in 2nd Ezra 6 and 9 that, I love one and hate, Esau is the end of the world. He was talking about Esau caused all of this mayhem. And all the stuff that you see that's going on, all this misery and suffering, Esau caused it. And Esau came from Isaac. Isaac came from Abraham. And Esau was the brother of Jacob. So, your seed can be blessed and it still can be wicked. But because of your righteousness, your seed might have a chance to turn around. Some of them won't, but some of them will. And again, we can believe that. We can believe that. We can confess that because we have seen that in the prodigal son. That story is there as a redemption story to the parent. It's not a redemption story for our seed or our children, because they didn't. That man didn't come back because all of a sudden he realized, what, I'm so blessed and things are just good and I ought to be glad that I have life. You know, but no, he had to fall flat on his face. He had to fall flat on his face, and he only came back because he was getting, excuse my language, he was getting his ass whipped. The world beat his ass to grinded him to powder. And then he turned around and came back. And when I say he, that could be she too. Don't get it, don't get it, twisted. He, she, in this instance, it could be either or. It could be a daughter of Zion. When this world finished beating her up. You follow me? Because she thinks she knows more than Elohim knows. And what I mean by that, she thinks that the word of Elohim it doesn't have any real true meaning to it. It's just, a bunch of stories written, for people's encouragement. That's a lie. The book is written, for judgment, instruction, but also for judgment. And it doesn't matter, if your daughter doesn't read, sister. If you're the daughter of a righteous mother, you don't have to read the book. You don't even have to believe the book, but the book still applies to you. So, just like the prodigal son, the prodigal daughter, once she get enough of this world beats her down, she's going to turn around and she's going to come running back home. Need I remind you again of Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1? Why don't you just take a moment and, put down your cell phone or maybe pick it up, and why don't you just Google the Bible verse, Isaiah 4 and 1, see what it says about the high-minded sister, the arrogant sister, the arrogant female. Because you surely can go to Luke 18, I want to say, and see what happened to the arrogant male. And both of them ended up running back home because shit had gotten so bad. The sisters ran back 7-1 man. The man ran back begging his father, to accept him back. And by the father was a righteous man. That's what David said. He's never seen, the righteous, forsaken. The father was a righteous man. So, when he realized that his son was in a state of destitution and needed him, he didn't turn his back. He was there, but he didn't go chasing after him. He let the world do what the world gonna do. He let the world do to them what this world is going to do to them. And again, many of our children who are, considered young, they don't, you would think by now they have gotten enough punches and hits that they would turn around quickly and say, I had enough of this. But like the dog goes back to the vomit, the pig goes back to the mud, as Yeshua said, they keep on, going at it. They keep going at it, getting used, abused, disrespected, humiliated. But because they can pay their bills and they have a roof over their head and food on their tables, they don't need Elohim. Because again, they become a god unto themselves. But it's not going to work out for them, in the end. And again, for those who think that they can play both sides, well, I go to church. I believe. I just don't believe like you believe. Okay, well, go back and read Revelation chapter 3, verse 15. Maybe parent, brother, mom, dad, maybe you need to, hey, call them on the phone and say, can I read something to you right quick? And then read Revelations 3 and 15 to them, where Yeshua told that body of believer, hey, I wish that you were hot or cold, because you're not hot or cold. In other words, they're halfway in, halfway out. He said, in other words, you're lukewarm, and therefore I will throw you up. I will vomit you up. I will spew you out of my mouth. I will spit you out. Because that's what a lot of them think. A lot of them think, well, as long as I believe, God knows my heart, I don't have to do all that stuff you doing. Well, yes, they do. They have to serve him with all their heart, all their mind, and all their strength. Oh, yes, they do. But again, there's a form of godliness. Paul said that they have a form of godliness, but not according to the truth. What he means by that, they make it up as they go. They have created some other God that's not in the book. And they're wasting their time, because ultimately, just like the prodigal son, it's going to catch up to them. It's going to catch up to them. It always catches up to you. Our book tells us, be not deceived. Elohim is not going to be made the fool of. Whatever lifestyle you choose to live, that's the consequences that you're going to get from that lifestyle. So they're out there doing whatever they want to do, thinking that, again, there is no consequence of living a unrighteous life. They don't call it unrighteous. They just call it they have a right to live the way they want to live. But they don't. None of us have a right to live the way that we want to live. Although Yah is not going to force you to follow him and obey him. But he will. But you are going to be judged. Every last one of us are going to be judged. And when that book is open, some of us are going to enter into a new heaven and a new earth that's beyond your imagination. And some of them are going to face the consequences of eternal fire through damnation. That's Revelation chapter, what is that? 21, verse 8, verse 9. I mean, this is just the truth. This is not to intimidate them, and this is not to scare them. Again, it's just the truth. If nothing else, to remind them. Esau will be there. Esau's seed is going to be there. But, 2/3 of, Jacob is going to be there too, us, Israel. But, it doesn't have to be that way. Again, if you want to have hope, mother, father, I'm talking about, the righteous mother and father, those of us who are living to the best of our ability, the laws, statutes, and commandments of Elohim. You can have hope. And I know in a video a couple of days ago I was talking about I've cut mine loose. I did cut them loose. No different than the father cut them loose. No different than Isaac cut Esau loose. I have cut them loose. Now, that doesn't mean if they repent, they turn back to Elohim, and they come back, to the knowledge of Elohim and who they are and what they're supposed to be doing. I'm not going to not answer that door. That would make me unrighteous. But I tell you one thing, I'm sure not going to go running after them, and I'm not going to lose any sleep behind them, and neither should you. Because if you're not careful, you'll make a god of your children. You'll start, compromising your walk with Elohim by accepting things from them or participating in things with them because, you don't want to be cut off from them. Okay, well, you don't have to be cut off from them. But if you want to stay attached to them, you're going to be cut off from Elohim. Because Elohim tells us, love not the world, neither the things that are in this world. He said it through John. And any man that loves the things of this world, the love of Elohim, it cannot exist inside of them. So if you're more concerned about your relationship with your children, when Yah told you if they let them go, and we saw it again with the prodigal father, he said, let them go. You're not supposed to be chasing after them. You're not supposed to be pleading for them. I'm not saying that you can't pray for them. That's your personal decision. That's not unrighteous to pray for them. But at the end of the day, your prayers are not going to make them turn around. They got to turn around just like you turned around. Now, your prayers might save them from a early death. I don't question that. I know my mother prayed for me one time in my journey that I had just almost lost my damn mind out here, making $250,000 a year. Just sad stuff. I'm not even gonna get into it. And my praying mother, she had a vision, she had a dream that, and she said she woke up from that vision and dream and started praying, and whatever curse that was on me, it was broken, and my eyes opened up, and I realized that I was about to do the ultimate thing and send myself to eternal destructive hell, and and that was that story. I'm not saying don't pray for them, but I am saying to you that you should not use a disproportionate amount of your time obsessed with your children not serving Elohim. You are wrong for that, because you're making them to be your God. I know that's not your intention, but that's what you're doing. Serve Yah. Serve him. Again, and go back, I'll reemphasize Revelation 3 and 15. You probably need to have that conversation with him. Go back and read it for yourself. Revelations 3 and 15. It's funny, they're so quick to throw John and 15 in our faces. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. They're quick to throw that in your face, that to justify that they could do whatever the hell they want to do through Jesus. Lying their ass. They're not lying, they don't understand what that really means. They don't know who he was talking to and what he was talking about. But since John 3 and 15 resonates so deep, let's see if Revelation 3 and 15 resonates with them. When Yah said, because they're half-assing. Y'all know what half-assing is. You ain't all the way in, but you're not all the way out. You know, and he said that either you all the way in or you all the way out. You can't serve Elohim the way you want to serve Elohim. You're either serving him or you're deceived. If you think that serving him is saying your prayers at night, serving him is reading your Bible every now and then, serving him is going to church on Sunday or these, you know, holidays, Easter, Christmas, that's all those Baal worship days, you are sadly mistaken. You're self-deceiving. None of that is worth anything. That's not even worth poo-poo, crap. That's worth zero. You're wasting your time. And I'm not, yeah, that's your opinion. That's not my opinion. That's what the book says. He said, your righteousness is as filthy rags before Elohim. Have you not read that? I want to say that's Isaiah 57, 58, but Google it up. You know, your righteousness before Elohim is like a bloody tampon. And men too, by the way. That's not just a woman's statement. That's y'all saying, he's not concerned about what you think, you know, you should do, or you want to serve in the way that you want to serve him. He said, you can think that all you want, but he don't accept that. He said, you shall live by the word. And every word, I might add, because that's what you're going to be judged by. Talking about, again, you know, our seed, you know what I'm saying, who think that they can, you know, fake it till they make it. They can fake it. You know, they're not real believers. They're not true believers, because a true believer would have come in by now. We understand what true belief is. True belief is what we do. It's how we walk, how we talk, how we live, what we, you know, aspire to be in the kingdom to come. And right here too, I might add. But again, you know, just to remind you, 2 stories, 2 sons, both blessed, both cursed. One returns back to his father. The other is going to be judged eternally in hell. And that applies to daughters as well. Hell, some of this might even apply to you. Maybe you're the one that's halfway in and halfway out. Maybe you're the one saying, you know, Elohim or God knows your heart. Although, you know, your life is very, very inconsistent. Your walk before Elohim is totally inconsistent with what you confessed. Maybe Revelation 3 and 15 is a reminder to you that you had better come all the way in or you are all the way out. What Elohim says, he says in 3:15, I know your work. You're neither hot nor cold. Therefore, I spew you out of my mouth. So either you make a decision or I'm done with you. That's the word. That's the word. You know, that's the same attitude we should have with our family members. You know, people that, you know, we have relationships with. We should be the same way. Either you come all the way in or I'm done with you. And you know, and guess what? Maybe somebody should be telling that to us. Maybe somebody should tell us the same thing. Either you go all the way in or I'm done with you. Because you're not going to hinder my walk before Elohim. You know, with your inconsistencies. You know, one minute, you know, you profess to be a believer and I see you doing things that appears to be righteous. But then the next thing, you know, I see you and you right there with heathens and you look just like them, acting like them, doing exactly what they're doing. And that's what he means by lukewarm. Neither hot nor cold. You know, he's talking about those of us who think that we can get around believers and act like a believer and talk the talk of the believer. But then, when the believers aren't around, we're right out there with the unbelievers, the heathens, the churchgoers. And we do exactly what they're doing. And if anybody walked in that particular group, they would never think that we were any different than the people we're associating with at that particular moment. You know why? Because those who do that are that. You know, and yet we have a way to justify it, rationalize it. Well, I'm just doing that because I don't want to lose my relationship. Well, no, you're doing that because you don't have a true relationship with the relationship maker, the relationship builder. That's why you're doing that, because your heart, you have never truly looked inside of yourself and said, you know what? Like the prodigal son said, I'm done. I already know what this lifestyle looks like. I'm looking at all these people in this little gathering, and all of them are lost, staring down at their phones, looking for attention, looking, for inspiration, looking to feel included. Look at them. Just watch them. They're all standing up, 20, 30, 40 people, and probably 90% of them, 9 out of 10 of them, in a group of people, and all of them looking down at their phones like they're in that group by themselves. You know why? Because there is no happiness, in things of this world. That's what that prodigal boy realized, daughter. He finally realized that, for all the partying and all the celebration and spending money and hoeing around and buying things, he realized that ultimately those things, could be taken away. And they were taken away. Well, they weren't taken away. He wasted it away. And then he realized, that he had nothing. No, what he realized was that all that stuff he had never was anything. Because it's funny, when you move that out of the way, what was he? In garbage, in filth. So he never really had none. Those things were just, things that were tempting him and keeping him away from Elohim. And again, many of these, that's why they're down there looking at their phone, things to make them think there's something when actually they don't have anything. I'm not talking about material. They have nothing inside of them that makes them happy. So they got to look inside their little phones, their little gadgets, to find a sense of purpose, to find happiness. Or they got to have the next celebration, the next event, the next festival, next concert. Can't wait for football season to come. I can't wait for, for Essence. I can't wait, the next festival. And why you think that is? Because they have nothing going on inside of them that would make them, feel not only content, but give them the inspiration to know that, what? No matter what happens to me, no matter what's going on with me, the one thing I know I can count on, no matter what, that no man can take from me, no woman can take from me. And that is, the blessings of Elohim that make it a man rich and add no sorrow with it. Rich in mind, rich in spirit, and rich in body, if you follow the dietary laws. So my message to you is that, David was right in Psalms 37:25. He says, I'm old. I laugh every time I say that because I know I'm old, but I don't feel old. He said, I am old. He said, but I was once young. And he said, the thing that I learned in all of that life, that because of my walk with Elohim, I was never forsaken by Elohim. Had my moments, I made my mistakes, but I was never forsaken because I always came back to him and I tried to serve him with everything I had. And David did. And he said, he never forsook me. And you know what else? He blessed my children, at least financially. They were blessed. They weren't begging for bread is what that means. They didn't have to go around, begging somebody to help them. They didn't even have to ask David to help them. They didn't even need their parents to help them because they were blessed through David's wealth. See, your side of our children are blessed through our walk, our wealth, not financial wealth, but the wealth of the spirit. So Yah has been merciful to them. And therefore, that's why they should never rebel against us. They should never let anything come out of their mouth where they're trying to tell us what to do. They should have a humble, meek spirit towards their parents. In other words, they should be honoring us. They don't. They don't. Because dishonor is in their heart. If they dishonor Elohim, how can they love you? And so to justify their dishonoring you, they come up with, well, you need to do this, or you shouldn't be doing that, or you didn't do this for me, and you didn't do that for me. And I could almost guarantee you, if someone was to shine a mirror on them right now, they're way worse of a parent than you were at their age. Not saying that your parenting was a good parenting, when you were their age. But I bet you 5 to 1, they're not doing any better than some are probably doing worse. And their decisions that they're making, you can already see, based off of their initial decisions, they're already on their way to the path of destruction. They've already proven they can make a piss poor decision. Some of these men have already impregnated women and they are in no position to take care of their children. Some of these women have already allowed men to take advantage of them, and these men have already shown that they're a piece of shit. Just like they claim their father was a piece of shit. Now their children's father is a piece of shit. And who chose their children's father? Who laid down with their children's mother? They did. But they have all this wisdom, all this insight. No, they don't have wisdom and insight. They are on the path to make your mistakes, but 100 times worse than the mistakes that we made. Because at least in our mistakes, we knew we had to turn back to Elohim. We know we had to seek Elohim for forgiveness in our mistakes. And we did. Look where that's why we're standing where we're standing. They're not doing that. They're just going down the pathway. They're just going down the broad path that's going to lead them to ultimate total destruction. But see, that pig pen, they're not going to come out that pig pen. This world is going to ultimately destroy them and their children. I'm talking about, those who choose to go the way of Esau, his own way, their own way. They're halfway in, halfway out. They're going to do what they want to do. They don't care what the book says. And therefore, Yah doesn't love them anymore. He hates them. Loves you, but he hates them. Again, Jacob I have loved, Esau I have hated. So, again, maybe your seed, will take the path of the prodigal son and come back. So therefore, you can still have hope. All right? You can still have hope. You follow me? And that's, I guess, at the end of the day, this message is a twofold message. First is to remind you that you can't have served the Most High. You have to be all the way in, or you are all the way out, no matter what you think. Does not matter what you think. What matters is what Elohim says. Revelation 3:15. If you're serving him today, not serving him today, serving him tomorrow, not serving him tomorrow, you're considered lukewarm. In other words, you're considered double-minded. James said you were double-minded. I want to say that's James chapter 1. He says a double-minded man is unstable in all of their ways, and they're inconsistent, and let them think they will have any blessings of Elohim. They will not. That's your precept. All right? Yah's not interested in your part-time love. He wants you 100%, or he doesn't want you at all. You have to decide that you want him 100%. Amen? So that's the first part of this message is you have to come all the way in. And the second part of this message is that, your children don't necessarily have to appear to be cursed to be judged. Because a lot of times they're being blessed because of you. And that's a good thing. I mean, that's a good thing. That's not something to be sorrowful. I guess maybe in some way you can feel a little bad because you say, man, maybe, well, no. That's not a bad thing. It's going to be bad for them, not for you. Because of you, there's still a chance for them. But they're running out of time. The end is near. But for us, we take it one day at a time. One situation at a time. But we never forget who we are. And we are the righteous of Elohim. Again, Psalms 37:25. That's all I have for you. Praise Yah. Hope this message brings a little clarity around your children and if they fall away and why they're falling away. You've been standing. Is my child blessed or is my child cursed? Well, your child is blessed in terms of they could be prosperous because they're of you. But at the end of the day, your adult children going to have to make the same decision you had to make. And you were fortunate enough to get in like the prodigal son. But then again, they might not be fortunate enough to get in like Esau. Yah will hate them. And therefore, he will judge them. Amen? But that's their decision. You've done your part if you're bringing forth the word and you're living, before Elohim righteously. The rest is up, to them and their destiny. I hope their destiny is to come back to Elohim, and that they find their way back to us. Because ultimately, nobody on this planet loves them like you love them if your heart is right for Elohim. Nobody loves your child like you love your child if your heart is right for Elohim. but don't make your child your God. Okay? You're getting in the way. Some of you parents are getting in the way. Your kids would have been come back if you had just got out the way. Like the prodigal father did. He got out of the way. Didn't forget who he was, but he got out of the way. He said, you want to go? Go. Not chasing you. I'm not running after you. You know, if you decide to come back, you'll know where you know where to find me. And that's what we need to be right now. That's where I am right now. They know where to find me. If my sons want to come back, they know where to find me. If they don't want to come back, you know, praise Yah anyway. That being said, that's all I have for you today, brothers and sisters. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. DFG.